It is a Christmas story about an old man and a dog. This is not like other Christmas stories. There are no villains. Instead, it is a story about love, affection, and devotion. A poignant lesson for all mankind. And the teacher is a dog. It is the story of Santa Claus and his dog Snuggles. Watch and listen while Orson Welles tells you how it came about. This is the last serious work the great artist performed.
Christmas was coming, and all o'er the earth, children welcomed the season of joy and of mirth. They chatted and frolicked in the new-fallen snow, counted hours and minutes and the seconds to go. For the story was known by all girls and boys of jolly old Santa, his candy and toys, of 8 tiny reindeer who guided his sleigh, of his wonderful journey on that wondrous day. That there wouldn't be Christmas, no child even dreamed. But that was exactly the case, or so it then seemed. For the worst of the worries, that fiercest of fears, Santa wouldn't be coming for the first time in years. For up at the North Pole, the toys sat on shelves. No order to pack them had come for the elves. No hustle, no bustle, no signs of the season. For Santa had told them, "I'm afraid there's no reason. It's a virus, you see. All the reindeer are ill. They're confined to their beds, taking syrups and pills. Doesn't look good. Indeed, what can I do? You can't move a sleigh when you have no one to pull."
What shall we do? Santa sighed in despair as he slouched in the folds of his overstuffed chair. His friends kept a vigil by the chair where he sat. Snuggle, his dog, and Snowflake, his cat. It won't seem like Christmas. It won't be complete. Mrs. Claus shook her head and was heard to repeat,
"You can't travel hither and yonder and fro. You can't deliver gifts without leaving the North Pole."
Why, there's millions of children depending on me. There's millions of hearts and there's bushels of glee. There's dreams to be reckoned with and doubts to make bright. I must, yes, I must take my sleigh out tonight. Santa stroked Snuggles' head, then he stroked his own beard. Mrs. Claus watched the clock as the time to leave neared. But try as they might, no answer they found, while the hands on the clock spun around and around. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9. The silence was frightening, but not a soul gave a sign. The doubts that he'd make it were constantly growing. If Santa didn't leave soon, it'd be too late for going. He was so deep in his thoughts, with his eyes closed so tight. Santa didn't see Snuggles go out in the night, nor was Santa aware when old Snuggles returned, till he felt a cold nose, and knew his dog was concerned. Santa opened his eyes, sat up straight in his chair, and smiled as he saw his loyal friend there. For there on the floor with the most wonderful grin was Snuggles, his dog. And Santa knew where he'd been. He was dressed in a harness that belonged to a deer. And as he hugged it, poor Santa, his intentions were clear. "Oh, Snuggles, faithful Snuggles," Santa laughed till he shook. "Would you pull my sleigh over mountain and brook? Would you brave the long night and the bitter cold blasts? Could you fight those fierce snowstorms? How long could you last? My reindeer are hardy, they're trained in my ways, they're big and they're young. They were made to pull sleighs. If you were strong as your faith and as big as your heart, if your effort matched your devotion, maybe then we could start. But you're small and you're old, and though brimming with love, a dog pulling my sleigh. I'm afraid it's unheard of." "Says who?" came a challenge. Mrs. Claus was the one. "I think Snuggles is right. Perhaps it could be done. Dogs might be the answer if you think back a ways before there were pets. Dogs used to pull sleighs. Consider this world when first it was made. Why, dogs served their masters and helped in their trades. They guarded their lodgings and they guided their ways. And here at the North Pole, they even pull sleighs. A bright spark was kindled deep within Santa's eyes. His heart started thumping. His mouth opened in surprise. "That's it," Santa shouted. "You've shown me the way. We'll do it with dogs. Why, they'll pull my sleigh. Quickly gather my elves and spread the good news. Load all of the toys, for we've no time to lose. I'll need special dogs from all parts of the world, ones that know each country, each boy, and each girl." "But where will you find them?" Mrs. Claus paused to say. "It's late in the hour, it's late in the day. Your needs are too special, your time much too fleeting to gather precisely the dogs you'll be needing." "But I know of a place. It's a hotel for pets, for horses and birds, for dogs and for cats. The innkeeper's kindly, and I know if I ask, he'll loan me the dogs that I need for this task." And so Santa journeyed uphill and down to a small rural village called Prairie View Town, with Snuggles beside him. He read signs aloud. "Slow. Animals play here. No people allowed." The hotel was quiet, although carols were heard. And the desk clerk awakened when Santa appeared. "I've a problem," sighed Santa, "of gigantic proportions. Please listen when I tell you without any distortion." From beginning to end, Santa told his disaster and consulted the clock ticking faster and faster. "We've never missed Christmas, not ever, you know." His eyes became misty. A tear suddenly showed. The innkeeper listened, and when Santa was through, said, "Santa, stop worrying. Here's what we'll do. You've no time for training or making a list, sir. You've got to have dogs that know right where the kids are. Dogs from the cities and dogs from the farms, dogs from apartments and dogs from the barns, poodles and pointers, retrievers and hounds, dogs who'll find children wherever they're found. I've got them all here, in twos and in threes. We'll form you a team of superlative breeds." He spoke into the intercom, saying, "All dogs, pay attention. Our friend Santa has a problem that I'd like to mention. Now, I know the sleigh's heavy and the trip will be long, but there's a task for each one of us, the weak and the strong. If we all pull together, just do our fair share, we'll prove on this Christmas just how much we care. You all know the hazards," the innkeeper said, "and I won't think any less if some stay in their bed, but for those with the spirit and those so inclined, come at once to the lobby and form in a line." Well, you couldn't imagine unless you were near the response for old Santa's immediately clear. They came down the corridors in a pack, wall to wall, filling the lobby, spilling out of the halls. They jumped over tables, they ran under chairs, they stumbled and tumbled, but they didn't care. Yipping and yelping, still onward they came, sheepdogs and spaniels, retrievers and danes. Till lo and behold, to Santa's surprise, every dog in the hotel was in front of his eyes. And the process of choosing only one from each breed was carried to completion with the greatest of speed. A Norwegian elk hound, an Italian greyhound, some red dogs, some black dogs, some white and some brown. 26 different terriers formed in a row with 10 different spaniels, their eyes all aglow. A beagle named Snoopy and a bulldog named Jed, a boxer named Gretchen and a basset named Fred, an Akita, a collie named Lassie, of course, and Brandy, the St. Bernard. She was as big as a horse. A Kelpie, a Keeshond, and a Dachshund, so small. Then Brutus the pug, he made the Dachshund look tall. From Northland and Southland, from East and from West, each dog was selected for the night's grueling test. From deserts and mountains, where they were bred, each breed had a place before that wonderful sled. When the innkeeper had chosen and they stood head by head, he called a white poodle, a standard, named Fred. "Now, Fred, you're in charge of this wondrous lot. You'll seek out each child, each toddler and tot. You'll ne'er miss a dwelling on land or at sea. If a child abides there, then that's where you'll be." Santa turned to the innkeeper. Now, one favor I lack. I would have you board Snuggles until I get back with pedigree hounds. I'm afraid he'd be too out of place with a pure-blooded kind. His color's a rainbow, his ears reach the ground. He lacks the fine points of the registered hound, with a nose too far forward and a tail too far behind. He just wouldn't fit in with the pedigree kind. Snuggles crouched to the floor. All his glee disappeared. He turned to the wall, feigning not to have heard. But the innkeeper noticed when the dog turned his head, there were tears in his eyes. So he turned, and he said, "Friend Santa," the innkeeper asked, quite forlorn, "did any of these dogs ask where you were born? Before volunteering, did they measure your nose, check out your height, or the cut of your clothes?" It suddenly struck Santa. His mouth opened wide, his hands clasped his head, his heart tingled inside. "Forgive me, poor Snuggles. What I said was misleading. No friendship that matters is a result of the breeding. Why, who still seeks your hand when there's no food that day, when fortune is fled, who still wants to stay, when success is elusive, when life's promises fail? Who remains at your side, no matter the trail? Who sees man as a king, though a pauper he be? Who ne'er deserts him, though his other friends flee? Courage, compassion, love that's not learned, measure for measure, deserve being returned. Man pays tribute to friends in many fine ways, a statue, a plaque, a flowery phrase. But his honors and compliments certainly pale with the tribute expressed by a hound's wagging tail. Why, it isn't the color, the hair, the eyes. It's things you don't see. It's the greatness inside. In all of life's blessings, no greater I found than the blessings exchanged in the eyes of my hound. Santa knelt to the floor and he stroked Snuggles' head, then lifted him gently, and gently he said, "Innkeeper, cancel that room, for my friend won't be staying. We're together, you see. Together we'll go sleighing." Then he led them all outside and bade them be quick to follow him northward for the start of their trip. Such a barking and howling arose as they left that the citizens of Prairie View arose from their beds. They ran to their windows and peered at the skies, not believing the sight that they saw with their eyes. A bearded old man with a dog at his right, leading dozens of dogs away in the night. "An impossible sight," the mayor exclaimed. "All the pudding I ate," one councilman blamed. And still to this day, the townsfolk deny that they saw on that night what they saw in the sky. "It just couldn't happen, not here in my town," the mayor exclaimed with a smirk beneath his frown. The council discussed it, and they voted all what they saw couldn't have happened. So it didn't happen at all. While back at the North Pole, when Santa descended, he found the sleigh loaded, the harnesses mended. He called for attention, and the dogs gathered round, except Bergie, the schnauzer, always acting the clown. "Each dog take your place at the front of the sled. To guide us in front will be the poodle named Fred, and the shepherd, of course, will go at Fred's side. For a shepherd, you know, makes a wonderful guide." Santa placed all the dogs in 2 rows by their kind, the big ones in front and the small ones behind, and a hassle arose when a dachshund kept charging to the front of the line, where he persisted in arguing. "See the size of my nose? It's an absolute fact. I could sniff better in front than I could in the back." But Santa assured him that while he was right, Santa needed him most, where his crew was so slight. "The Chihuahua, the Papillon, the Pekingese, too, I don't think they'd make it if they didn't have you." "Quite right," said the dachshund. "An obvious fact. I should not desert my small friends in the back." The argument settled, Santa took up the reins and made them all listen while he carefully explained. "Lift your eyes to the heavens. Fill your hearts with a dream. No child without Christmas. Now onward, my team. 518 dogs eager to trudge grunted and strained, but the sleigh would not budge. First one, then another, with all of his might, failed in his efforts to bring them to...
Then the word went out to the forest nearby that a friend could be helped if enough friends would try. A bird told the owl, and the owl told the hare, who told the whole story to the great white bear. A meeting was called and all the animals came, and the great white bear addressed them and carefully explained. He told them about Christmas and its clarion call for peace in the land and goodwill for all. "But why should we help?" said Raccoon from his tree. "When I need help, man never helps me. Why, all of us know they're supposed to be brothers. Why should we help a kind who won't help each other?" "That's exactly the point," said the great white bear. "Man needs to be reminded about this world we share. Perhaps if we aid them and help free Santa's sleigh, they'll think also of us on each Christmas day." All the animals discussed it, and in the end all agreed that love was like a flower, and every kindness a seed. Then they all marched together toward the site of the sleigh, singing aloud as they went on their way.
One for all for one, and we can do what must be done. We'll make the sky, we'll light the sun. One for all and all for one. This world needs me, this world needs you. Together we've a job to do. Marching together, one voice, one. One for all and all for one. This world needs me, this world needs you. Together we've a job to do. Marching together, one voice, one, one. One for all and all for one.
They joined with the others, using every device to free Santa's sleigh from the grip of the ice. With their shoulders to the sleigh and their backs to the wind, they never gave up and they didn't give in. In that small North Pole town, where few people abide, in their own special way, each living thing tried. But all of their efforts, though nobly inspired, failed to achieve the dream they desired.
Then, over the racket of barking and howls, the flailing of legs and the flapping of jowls, came a shrill, squeaky order from Brutus the pug. "When I count to 3, then everyone tug." "Yip," squeaked little Brutus. "That's 1, you know." "Yip, yip," was the next count, all tensed in the snow. "Yip, yip, yip," hardly sounded when the reins were stretched tight and all of the dogs pulled with all of their might. First the creaking and squeaking of woodrunners on snow, then a sigh of relief as they started to go faster and farther. The sleigh soon was moving. The rhythm of bells kept their teamwork improving. Then they looked to the heavens, filled their hearts with a dream, and they all lifted skyward like a heavenly scene. But the most amazing feeling was when the dogs found they could pull in the air like they could in the ground.
Santa's reindeer caught a cold, oh no, what a sight. Snuggles wagged his tail and twinkled with delight. Christmas Eve needs a hero and Snuggles is on call. He'll gather all his doggy pals to save this Christmas haul. Poodles with their pom-poms, Rottweilers strong and proud, Labradors, Retrievers, a merry barking crowd. Golden coats glimmer like the holiday cheer. With Snuggles leading the way, Santa has no fear. Snuggles save the day, Christmas on the way. Santa's sleigh won't stray with pops and bright display. Jingle bells will ring, dogs with shiny wings. Snuggles leading dogs, a pack of Christmas kings. Spaniels in their sweaters, wagging tails so high. Eagles sniffing out the stars, lighting up the sky. Mischief in their eyes, but hearts so pure and true. Snuggles barks commands, and off the sleigh they flew. Through the frosty night, paused in perfect sync, landing on each rooftop faster than you think. Santa's sack is empty, family's full of cheer. Thanks to Snuggles and his friends for bringing joy this year. Snuggles save the day, Christmas on the way. Santa's sleigh won't stray with pops and bright display. Jingle bells will ring, dogs with shiny wings. Snuggles leading dogs, a pack of Christmas kings. Snuggles save the day, Christmas on the way. Santa's sleigh won't stray with pops and bright display. Jingle bells will ring, dogs with shiny wings. Snuggles leading dogs, a pack of Christmas kings.
Upward and onward, at a furious pace. 'Twas half past the evening. 'Twas late in the race. Up to the North Star, then south to the bay. Then they followed the trail of the bright Milky Way. 'Twas a tiring task, climbing chimneys all night, but soon Snuggles joined in, much to Santa's delight, and together they placed every candy and toy. Together, two friends shared a new Christmas joy. Never passing, but stopping at each little town, a merry old man and his faithful old hound. They stopped at every dwelling where a child was sniffed. The better the child, the bigger the gift. To Scotland and Ireland, England and Wales, then on to the continent the lot of them sailed. From Greenland and Iceland, through the cold Arctic sleet, to the tip of the Cape and the African heat, westward to Russia, that mighty expanse, not missing one child, not even by chance. Then down through the Orient to the middle of the East, where they placed with each present a large wish for peace. To the highest of mountains, then the valleys below, they soared and they dived, leaving gifts to behold to the thousands of islands that dot all the seas. Not one child was missed, and Santa was pleased. Then quick to the Americas, the North and the South, where the last gift was placed, and time finally ran out. So they scurried on, hurried on, back to the pole, where they drifted on down to land back in the snow. There was joy and camaraderie from the spirit of well done. They had challenged the challenge, and by doing, had done. And Santa admitted, and Snuggles did too. You have friends you can trust. There's no task you can't do. Now back to the pet hotel. 'Tis dawn. When your families come calling, you mustn't be gone. Up over the landscape, 'twas easier now. Then down to the hotel in Prairie View Town. They arrived as they'd left, with a thunderous noise that awakened some townsfolk, some girls and some boys, and the sight the folks saw on that clear Christmas day led to closing of blinds and the pulling of shades, while back at the pet hotel each dog went to his bed, where he noticed an object hanging over his head. 'Twas a tricolored stocking filled to the brim with milk bones and chewies, and a note just for him.
To friends who have taught me, I will never forget. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Signed, a dog's best friend, Saint Nick.
And away at the North Pole, Mrs. Claus smiled at the sight of the dawn of a Christmas when all was all right. While Santa relaxed and with snuggles, he shared the comforts of home in his favorite old chair. The Santa spoke softly through the mist in his eyes. No, you really can't tell by the shape or the size. And Snuggles, without speaking, seemed to reply, no, it isn't what you see that counts. It's the heart that dwells inside.
One for all for one, and we can do what must be done. We'll paint the sky, we'll light the sun. We're one for all and all for one. This world needs me, this world needs you. Together we've a job to do. Marching together, one voice, one drum. One for all and all for one. One for all for one. And we can do what must be done. We'll paint the sky, we'll light the sun. We're one for all and all for one. One for all for one. And we can do what must be done. We'll paint the sky, we'll light the sun. We're one for all and all for one. One for all and all for one. One for all and all for one. One for all for one. And we can do what must be done. We'll paint the sky, we'll light the sun. We're one for all and all for one. This world needs me, this world needs you. Together we've a job to do. Marching together, one voice, one drum. One for all and all for one.